So everybody heard Keir Starmer and the Labour at the time, official opposition, telling you how they wanted growth, and more growth leading up to the general election. They had a plan in place. They was going to build millions, in their words, of much needed housing. Now, over the last 6 months, and obviously it is the first 6 month in government, we've not seen any growth, but we've actually seen now a loss, and we've seen a forecast that looks much, much worse, especially since Rachel Reeves' budget. So the big question today is, does Keir Starmer and his government actually have a plan when it comes to building growth in the UK? And it seems we already have our answer, because the Prime Minister, the Chancellor, and the Business Secretary have written to the UK's main regulators and asked them, begged them to come up with ideas for reform that they could boost the economic growth. They contacted watchdogs, including Ofgem, water regulators, Ofwat, just before Christmas, asking them to submit proposals. I guess that's a way of making it look professional. Submit proposals by mid to end of January. Now, this shows and proves once and for all that this government have no idea what they're doing. Now, Keir Starmer has been an official opposition leader for 5 years. That means he should be challenging the government, one, which he did, to be fair, but second of all, he should be coming up with a plan and a shadow cabinet that can step straight into government at any given time and govern the country. Instead, what we've seen with Keir Starmer, and let's be honest, it's what most of us already know, is that he would say absolutely anything to get in power, and he has absolutely no idea what he's doing when it comes to running this country. And those around him, those on the cabinet, have no idea what they're doing either. They're all very left wing. They all have their ideology. They'll tell you how many genders there is, and they'll tell you we should pay money to countries on the other side of the world because we used to have slaves there. They will tell the WASPy women that they support their campaign until getting in government. But when it actually comes to running this country and serious grown up politics, the Labour Party are now showing the true colours. And that's not to say that Rishi Sunak's government was much better, but it does seem at this moment it was slightly better because it did seem to actually have a little bit of a plan. Now, Rachel Reeves, she claimed she was a banker. This was another lie that they said before getting into government for the general election. They claimed because their chancellor to be was an ex-banker, this given the experience to boost the country and give economic growth, which is much needed. What have we found out since the general election? That Rachel Reeves was never actually a banker. She was more like an office clerk. So the very foundations of the experience they was talking about had no benefits whatsoever. Now let's look at Keir Starmer. He loves to tell us about one, his dad being working in a toy factory, and second of all, how he was the head of the CPS. And he seems to put the two together. By being the head of CPS shows that he has the experience to run the country and again bring to this country economical growth. But let's be serious. Is what this country needs career civil servants? So, but the CPS is a government body. The CPS was run by Keir Starmer for a period. And for anybody who's worked in the civil sector, or like me, are elected to a local government, you see how these things are run. They are run by corruption, they're run by covering up anything negative from getting out there, and they are run with lie after lie. There is no actual experience and none actually needed in many ways because the money they're playing with isn't their own money, like a private company would be. It's like monopoly money, it's tax money. And every time that they're going to technically go bankrupt, what do? They just ask for more funding. So for me, Keir Starmer has no experience when it comes to running a big organisation like the government needs to be, where you've got to come up with trade deals with other countries. You've got to look on whether you should bring tariffs in or not bring tariffs in. You've got to negotiate. All what Keir Starmer is, at the very core of him, is a yes man, a civil servant. And it seems that Angela Rayner, Rachel Reeves, and everyone else in that cabinet has no idea whatsoever what they're doing. Because if they did have an idea what they was doing, they wouldn't now be asking for ideas 6 months down the line. To me, it seems that they really truly believe that the banker, Rachel Reeves, budget was going to take off, businesses was going to get on board, when we have seen the exact opposite. We've seen businesses already leaving the country. We've seen businesses now saying, because of the hike in national insurance, that they're not going to be able to keep employed the people they've already got. So it's having the opposite effect. Now, if we want to look at any more decisions that Keir Starmer has made regarding civil servants, we only need to look at another headline doing the rounds, and that is that there has been 30 new Labour peers, including a string of ex-MPs and Keir Starmer loyalists, now sent to the House of Lords. Well, this is a Labour Party that always talks about abolishing and bringing reform to the House of Lords, but you may be shocked or may not be shocked to see that one of the people now going to the House of Lords is no other than Sue Gray, his former senior advisor, who was just left the job only a couple of months ago. And if that name rings a bell to you, Sue Gray was the person who ran the inquiry into the COVID inquiry into Boris Johnson and found Boris Johnson and the majority of his cabinet guilty of breaches. Now, Sue Gray, it's rumoured, was basically holding information away from Keir Starmer. Now, that would fit in with the narrative, which I believe to be true, that civil servants run the country. They don't tell elected officials what's going on half of the time. But let's break that down. If the top advisor to the Prime Minister is keeping information, it shows that there is an agenda amongst the civil servants to keep the country going in a certain direction. And that's where we really see common purpose come into play, or what they now call leadership courses, where civil servants like Keir Starmer, probably when he was the CPS, or certainly Sue Gray, who were civil servants in government, get sent on leadership courses, £10,000 a pop, paid by you, the taxpayer, and they teach them how to keep the country steadily going forward, and how elected people can come and go and can change the agenda which is set before. So what you've got to do is pacify them, decide what information has to go to them, when technically the elected official is the advisor or the civil servant's boss. So if Sue Gray was holding information away from the Prime Minister, it seems that behind the scenes, Keir Starmer actually got rid of Sue Gray. So why didn't he just sack Sue Gray if this scenario is true, which most people think is? And it will be very simple, because Sue Gray will know where the bodies are buried. So for Sue Gray losing her job, she needs to be given something back in return. So first of all, Starmer gave her a new envoy position that we've never had before. He created a whole new civil servant body for her, and now he has put her in the House of Lords. Well, she'll probably enjoy around £50,000–60,000 a year for doing very little. Now, should the House of Lords be filled with people who have never held elected bodies? I, for one, think the House of Lords should be scrapped. But if you are going to have the House of Lords, surely it should be people who at some point have got experience by working in public office, working directly for the people. Somebody like Sue Gray, again, a civil servant who has probably just been taught to hide things from the public, certainly should not now have a lordship. But let me know what you think about Keir Starmer and going out with his begging bowls to watchdogs, asking for ideas on how he can give growth to the UK. And what do you think about him appointing his loyalists and Sue Gray now to the House of Lords? Thank you all for watching. Please like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video.